Support WrestleTalk!
Give us a subscribe. Thanks for your support on Patreon. Expect a fight! We've got a new United States champion. We've got a new Cruiserweight champion. We got half a really good wrestling show. But then we got Baron Corbin and Lacey Evans mid-card Vortex. I'm Ollie Davis. Press the thumbs up button, give us a subscribe, and answer our question of the day in the comments down below. Who would you have chosen for the special guest referee? Because I'll be replying to people from out of nowhere, telling you literally anyone other than Lacey Evans. Also, vote in the poll above my head to give your rating for the show, where you can choose from best of both worlds, great per view, thumbs in the middle, meh per view, and worst of both worlds. While I review WWE Stomping names, time to kick grounds and take ass 2019. Tony Nese wasn't only representing 205 Live as its Cruiserweight champion in the first match, he was also cosplaying as its logo to kick things off. If you thought normal Cruiserweight singles matches were exciting, the triple threat stipulation here made the division even more dynamic, with loads of inventive spots and near falls just being broken up by the third man. And for a change, that excellent Tacoma, Washington crowd were with them from the start, opposed to the Cruiserweights having to win the audience over, meaning that action only escalated from the beginning to a very dramatic last few minutes of big move, near fall, big move, near fall, big move. Drew Gulak throws Tony Nese out the ring to pin Akira Tozawa, new Cruiserweight champion. The main show was kicked off by a video package with 1960s hit, "These Boots Are Made for Walking," or as Vince McMahon knows it, that current day trendy pop song all the kids are grooving to right now. And then we got the SmackDown Women's title match of Becky Lynch versus Lacey Evans. While the hot Tacoma crowd were very much into cheering Becky, they weren't into booing Evans, suggesting she's not actually over as a convincing heel. Something this match did nothing to help, as 10 minutes in, she tapped out immediately to Becky's disarm her. I'm sure that totally signals the end of the Lacey versus Becky feud we've been stuck in since WrestleMania. Ali then had a really cool video package where he delivered an inspiring monologue and walked around the streets, seeing a woman drinking a bottle of beer, a man getting mugged, some dude pushing his girlfriend, and doing absolutely nothing to help them. Paul Heyman then walked out of Baron Corbin's locker room because not even the advocate for the Money in the Bank briefcase holder can escape the pull of Baron Corbin's mid-card Vortex. Heyman teased cashing in as always, and then Corbin came out to say he's chosen his special guest referee, who will call it right down the middle for no favors. The favors being the clue there. Main event wrestlers aren't the only thing Baron Corbin's mid-card Vortex can pull. Then came the match of the night for me, an excellently structured, brilliantly worked tag match of Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn versus The New Day. KO started the match by immediately knocking Big E off the apron and hitting 4 super kicks on Xavier Woods for a near fall, and then didn't relent, with Sami tagging him for a blue thunder bomb and Owens following up with a bullfrog splash. It was a great strategy, considering how Sami lost the first fall immediately in their 2 out of 3 falls match on Tuesday's SmackDown, and psychologically it also perfectly let Woods play the babyface in peril. This all built wonderfully to Big E's eventual hot tag, and an amazingly good near fall following a Sami haluva kick on Xavier, followed up by an Owens pop-up powerbomb that Big E just broke up. But while Big E had taken out Sami on the outside with his terrifying dive through the ropes, Owens hit a stunner on Woods for the win. This was a fantastically paced and laid out match, and the New Day losing was a neat detail for Kofi Kingston's match later on. I know Zayn is on Raw, but WWE should make him a permanent team with Owens again, because a SmackDown tag division with them, the New Day, and Daniel Bryan and Rowan could start a golden era of tag wrestling on the show. Then continuing that actually good wrestling, Ricochet and Samoa Joe put on a very well-worked match based around Ricochet's speed, pew pew, against Joe's power. What was more impressive, besides the usual Ricochet flips though, was how realistic their strikes looked. Even in slow motion, Joe's forearms and Ricochet's enziguri looked like they were genuinely connecting, probably because, in Joe's case, They were. He's terrified. And then after a 6:30 splash, Ricochet became the new United States champion, his first title on the main roster. Unfortunately, it's the one title that seems to be cursed with injuries, screwy finishes, and WWE just not caring about it. Hopefully that's about to change, as later on Luke Gallows, Carl Anderson, and AJ Styles crashed Ricochet's US title photo shoot, saying they'll see him on Monday Night Raw. I'm still not going to believe the club are reforming. Fool me once, WWE, Shane McMahon on you. Fool me 38 times. Shane McMahon on me. But any cynicism was quickly replaced by Ricochet's good feels, who walked backstage to find several babyfaces applauding him in the gorilla position. You know, babyfaces like Seth Rollins, Kurt Hawkins, Zack Ryder, Carmella, Heavy Machinery, and Charlotte. Massive women's division babyface Charlotte. Don't pay attention to that though. Here's Daddy Triple H. Charlotte aside, this was a very nice moment and transitioned seamlessly into Heavy Machinery coming out for their match next, which was a really fun SmackDown tag title fight against Daniel Bryan and Rowan, just for the wrong reasons. The crowd was amazingly hot for the wrong team. Washington is Bryan's home state, and he fittingly received the biggest reaction of the night. And eco-based chants like, "Please recycle," and drive a Prius. Unfortunately, that's not what you want when you're trying to get over your new babyface tag team in their first proper title match. The crowd booed Heavy Machinery, throwing the dynamic of Otis's babyface comeback off. Bryan eventually rolled up Tucker to retain. Unfortunately, that's where the great in-ring wrestling started to decline on this show. I thought Stomping Grounds might be WWE's surprise pay-per-view hit of the year up until this point, but the main event matches dragged the event down. Bayley defending her SmackDown Women's title against Alexa Bliss was a microcosm of what's been wrong with their overall feud. The action between Bliss and Bayley is engaging, but anything involving Nikki Cross fell flat. And that's what the finish was built around, where Bayley had taken out Cross accidentally with a dive, so Nikki ran in and inadvertently distracted Alexa, costing her the match. Now it's time for the WrestleMania rematch nobody wanted. Roman Reigns versus Drew McIntyre 2. This time, it's personal, just with Shane McMahon rather than Drew. This was all just a filler proxy match to stretch out the McMahon versus Reigns story, where the two couldn't keep their hands off each other more than Becky Lynch and Seth Rollins, all despite McIntyre being Roman's actual opponent, which is a shame, as Drew was doing everything he could to get over, with kip-ups, sit-ups, and Alabama slams on the commentary table. It followed the normal Reigns structure for the most part, him getting worked over by the heel, and a big comeback overcoming the odds to win at the end. This was much better than their WrestleMania encounter, but third time's really the charm, as Shane announced later on that him and Drew would take on Roman in a 2-on-1 handicap match on Raw. Long live the Omni-Shane! Dolph Ziggler showed really good intensity in the following steel cage match, but he passed his WWE expiration date a good few years ago, and he's impossible to buy as a credible threat. Most of the match was built around him and Kofi Kingston trying to escape through the door, which Kofi eventually did spectacularly, diving over Dolph through the ropes to beat him to the ground. A very innovative finish to a rather plodding match, although it does make the championship look a bit stupid. SmackDown's best wrestler on the brand will be decided by who can get through that door first. While Raw's main events haven't been safe from Baron Corbin's mid-card vortex for a while now, Stomping Grounds officially marks the first time a pay-per-view has been fully sucked into it. But let's be honest, Corbin isn't the draw here. It's the two other stories surrounding his match. Will Brock cash in, and who will be the special guest referee? WWE answered both those questions by face-planting directly into the center of the earth, because they somehow found a worse reveal than Lesnar, which wouldn't make sense, or Shane McMahon, which would be frustrating. No, instead, WWE went with Lacey Evans, which the crowd reacted to by chanting boring, this is stupid, Daniel Bryan, CM Punk, and AEW. WWE fans to AEW confirmed. It was then that all the Becky Lynch and Seth Rollins references on commentary throughout the night made sense, to the extent where Michael Cole clunkily referred to the Universal Champion as Becky Lynch's boyfriend. And Becky loves Becky Lynch's boyfriend so much, it took her a good 15 minutes to come out and save him. 15 far too long minutes of Baron and Lacey cheating with chairs, slow counts, and rules changing. Becky eventually ran out and beat up Lacey, meaning John Cone could jump in and count Seth's stomp pin on Baron, which is all presumably the setup to a deeply uninspiring Seth and Becky versus Corbin and Evans mixed tag at Extreme Rules. Because now, not even the Raw Women's title can escape the pull of Baron Corbin's Midgard Vortex! Nothing is safe! It's a separate genders division! Run! Run while you still have a chance! While the first half of the show was really very good, the main event matches dragged and were booked with dud angles. But to their credit, the Washington crowd were hot throughout, and the duration was a much more forgiving 3¼ hours. It's almost like those two things are connected, like the crowd weren't beaten down by a 7-hour-long show. Stomping Grounds is thumbs in the middle. How did WWE come up with Stomping Grounds' great tagline? Watch our WrestleTalk team sketch in the brand new episode of Screen Grapple by clicking the video on the right, and Avengers Endgame's alternate end scene has been revealed. Find out the huge effects it could have had on the MCU by clicking the video below that. I've been Ollie Davis, and that was wrestling.